Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Kev Play. This is Kevin, and we're on episode 60 of The Last of Us Part 2. We're in the fourth episode, yeah, I think it's the fourth episode of our No Return Blind run. Um, so far so good with all this. I mean, not so far. Well, we haven't beat a run like the entire run yet. We've been getting far. We got to a boss battle at one point, um, But I don't know. We'll try another. I think we have we unlocked daily run last time, so maybe we can try that. Start a new daily run of no return. You can only make one attempt at the daily run per day. Everyone plays the same one. Okay, let's try that this time. Daily run. You can only make one attempt at the daily. Yes, so we already got that. All right, we'll do moderate. Oh, we have to play as Abby. Like they're making us play as a fixed character, I guess. It's interesting. Okay, I guess we'll try that. You have selected moderate, blah blah blah. Hey Puppet Pig, how's it going? It's interesting on the PS5 broadcasts, like the chat, I could see
Now go.
your avatar on the screen as it pops up. I don't think you see it from your perspective, but oh, so this is a different little area when you play as the Abby side. It's interesting. And you said yes, I have seen the the Last of Us episode. Brilliant. I meant to do it sooner, but I was like getting hung up at work, and by the time I got home, I was just like, yeah, it's a little too late. You don't see anything. Oh yeah, you don't see anything of the chat. Yeah, unfortunately on PS5, that's how it goes. But for now, let's just go into one run. Well, really, before we really get into this, I guess we can just get into the nitty gritty of the episode before, just to get it out of the way. Um, I like that this episode is called "The Path," which is, if you don't know, it's one of the songs from the first game in the soundtrack is called "The Path," and that's like the very like cheerful. It's like actually the song you hear at the very end of the credits at the end of the first game, and you actually hear that song being played throughout the episode at certain points. Like when you see like Ellie and Dina going, across on their quest, and you get those wide shots of them on horseback, and they're playing that. I think they played it again too, a bit of the song when Ellie goes to Joel's grave, in terms of just like I guess like evoking the memories of Joel and like the good times and stuff. It was a nice episode to kind of just like really marinate in what happened in the previous episode, which was such a big moment. And I like that they took the time to like slow down. This is like one of the things I really liked about it too is that it we got to see Ellie and Dina play off each other in a very natural way, where it's like, in the first episode of the season, the interaction we get with them is the dance scene, which is like almost like word for word, you know, a one for one shot of the game. And I remember my initial criticism being like, those you can do a one for one shot and try to be faithful, but that was a scene that was like written and directed around Ashley Johnson and Dina's actress. So doing it with two different actresses, there's you risk you know not having the same authenticity. But I still think it played fine enough. Um, but with this episode, what I like is that we're exploring things we're seeing with Ellie and Dina that we never really got in the game. They're kind of like straying a bit from what we saw. There's things that are implied in the game that happen, but in this episode, we're being shown it. Uh, for instance, Dina coming to, and I think some artistic liberties that are different, but like basically Dina comes to Ellie with the information that she has on the names of the people involved with Joel's death. That was big. Because I'm pretty sure in the game where we discover that on our trip to Seattle, or like in like as we're going through, like I think we eventually get their names. We learn their names. I think in the game Ellie and Dina really know not much at all about these people. Whereas in the TV show, they're a little bit ahead of the curve with what information they have. So Dina presenting that and bringing cookies, it was a nice little moment. I actually teared up. Did I tear up? No. I felt emotion when Ellie is going through Joel's stuff, and we get that moment from that, which was also in the game, where she sees Joel's jacket, and she kind of like in the game she like smells it, you know because it's like a lasting memory. Bella Ramsey's performance in that was really good. The way she was like crying, but it was like very such a quiet moment for herself. That was a very human, cathartic moment. I liked that, and it's a moment like that where I'm like, the people who are bashing this actress, regardless if you agree or disagree whether she was casted correctly for the role, she's doing a great job. I think for what she has to work with, and she's offering something. It's not doesn't have to be the exact same thing as the game version of Ellie, but she's offering something of substance here. And if it can affect me on an emotional level in some sense, then she's doing. I think the writing and her performance are doing a good job. Um, you said it was alright, I guess. It's one of those slow episodes. It's character building. I like that. And by the end of the episode, you're still getting to the beginning of Seattle. So it's not like there was a wasted moment at all. Um, you know, uh, I think this is an episode that was needed, absolutely, because if you're just going to go straight into the action and then just keep hitting those moments of, oh, I remember this from the game, oh yeah, I remember this from the game, and it's just like the adaptation isn't doing it's falling into the pitfalls of what isn't really the most ideal adaptation. I don't want to see the game repeated. I want to see the in-between moments that the show can offer us that the game never did. I liked that we got to see kind of a court session where they put it to a vote of whether it's practical or uh, or if it's in everyone's best interest to seek revenge on Joel. Send a team out, even though their defenses are kind of weakened at the moment, and they need to rebuild, and they're in the process of rebuilding. Um, and then having Ellie kind of like make for me, I felt a sense of real tension when she has like the Ellie we know, who's so impulsive and so used to just like kind of like skirting the rules. For her to have to prepare a speech and try to rally uh, some goodwill over over a cause like this, uh, I was definitely rooting for her, and I was like, oh my god, okay. Like when Ellie stood up and she had her piece of paper, I was like, okay, Ellie, like do yourself justice here. Like don't just get your way, but offer something of intelligence and put some thought into what you're doing here so that we can actually like really appreciate you as a character. And I think what she said was very interesting, where it's like it's not about revenge, just for Joel or for me. It's about us, and it's about like the community, and it's like, and I like how that was written and how she presented it. Um, it was interesting, and I like that um, the the older guy from the dance scene, who's like the homophobe, who was being an asshole to her and Dina. He's interestingly supporting uh what she wants, and not because out of like some alliance or anything, but it's just sh I like how, and a lot of people are confusing this as some kind of a redemption arc for him. That's not what it is at all. I think it's like holding a mirror to Ellie realizing, like, regardless of who other people are and what, where you stand with people, like the actual person, they could still share the same opinions and the gut feelings or the impulses that you might for her to like be on the same page with him. It's almost like a matter of like, should she be checking herself? Is like Jesse right where it's like you're angry right now and maybe you're being too hasty about just going, you know uh rampaging on this like revenge quest, or it's like, look who's agreeing with you. um I thought that was interesting, and begrudgingly she kind of like accepts his support there, especially when they sneak off later. um but it's interesting how, because the show, I mean, the game and the show kind of explores like the gray area of all people, the last of us and all that. Like, and I feel like that was a cool little thing that they did there. And I like how they're kind of being upfront of about, they're not trying to like hold the cards of the revenge story too close to the chest, where it's like, obviously, revenge, going on a revenge quest to kill people, to avenge people's death, and like risking your life or risking other people's lives. That's a very simple thing that anyone who's, you know, that you would think like a lot of people should know better. And there's reasons why you should never do that. And we've had so many cautionary tales uh, to show us why it's not a good idea and why it's something just almost destructive, self-destructive, or or what's the word? Fruitless. But I like that there was that one guy that was like, we should show mercy, like that we should be practicing like mercy, and this is, and we got to think about like, our defenses are down. It doesn't make sense. We should be better, and just keep living and let the bad thing that happened against us just be a bad thing. That's on them. That's on the people. That's on the victimizers who did this to us. It doesn't have to be, but at the same time, it's a good argument. It's like, if you just like don't, if you lay down your arms, like, who's to say it's not going to happen again and again and again? And that's where the whole war and peace comes into it, or like, the cycles of violence that happens in real life. Like, I like that that's kind of brought up front, even if it's a little on the nose. I like that they're like getting it out of the way, being like very transparent about it, which kind of, I hope, promises that the show can, explore even deeper themes, beyond kind of like the bare bonesiness of it. But you said the interaction between them was nice. Yeah, you're right. And you said a nice little redemption arc. It's a nice, but I don't think that was the purpose of that guy being on their side. I think it's a show that even even a guy like him, who's just like a, had his moment of being a piece of shit. It doesn't mean he's this like villain. He is capable of, you know having his own opinions and stuff that would actually validate someone who isn't, who has a better character or so forth. But then the question comes is like, does Ellie have a good character? And that's actually explored in this episode too, as well. I mean, when Tommy goes to the little league game and sees Catherine O'Hara's character as a therapist just sitting there, and then she acknowledges that what Ellie told her in the hospital, or like their little like infirmary, after she was, after she was recovering, that basically she says like Ellie's a liar, and she can see right through it. And what I really like too is what they brought up, and it kind of challenges what I've been saying throughout the game. Is it brings up this theme of like nature versus nurture, where I've been saying for the longest time while playing the game is that Joel's impact on Ellie um was was very strong, and you know Joel was capable of such violence, but it was in the effort to survive, and he would do what he had to do. And um, Ellie has in her mind that if it were the opposite and Ellie was the one that was murdered, Joel would have went across the country to hunt all these people down too. It's almost like Ellie feels like she needs to do this for Joel, but it's because of this like nurture of her grow, kind of being somewhat raised, being the first person that's very close, like a parent, like a father figure to her that's been with her for so long and hasn't abandoned her up until this point. Um, what Joel's impact has a lot on her. He's nurtured her into being going down this bad road, you know. But what in the show what it argues is it's not just nurture, it's nature. And that Ellie has always been kind of rebellious, and even before she met Joel, she's been witness to trauma and horror, and and she'll do whatever just like Joel, she'll do whatever she has to. She's made of the same kind of like DNA where she'll do what she has to do to get her own way or to survive, or survive in the way that she sees fit. And if that means lying and skirting the rules, maybe it is fate that Ellie is just gonna be live this tortured existence because she grew up in such a tortured existence. That's something to be argued. Um, but I like that the show kind of made you think about that. And then what else? You said, yes, I don't really know what else to add. It was a nice slow episode. Um, Other than that, I'm trying to think. Um, I th- I don't see how anyone can be complaining, and like I see a lot of like fans that are like shippers of Ellie and Dina who are like, "Oh, this isn't my Dina. She would have said this instead of that, or she wouldn't have said like I'm bi curious, or that I went back to Jesse or something." I guess that's like just like the silly fandom. It's not as toxic of a criticism. It's just like they get so wrapped up in like the shipping of the two characters that they wanted to work out the way they wanted to, or they're falling into the trap of comparing the game relationship with this. I don't get hung up on that. Again, this episode felt organic to me. It was, even if it's a different version of the Dina and Ellie relationship, which I think is what I like about it being a slower episode, is that we're developing the relationship. We're not assuming the relationship. Um, so that's cool. And then other than that, I think there was one more thing I was gonna say, but I'm kind of blanking. Maybe I'll remember it as we play. But overall, I enjoyed it. I like how they arrive at Seattle at the end. Oh, they also introduced like the Seraphite um, faction. We're seeing this kind of like older guy, and he hands like a hammer to like the younger little kid, trying to make her feel safe. And interestingly, they don't come into play as like an antagonistic force yet. We actually see them completely obliterated, which we can assume is from wolves. And that was pretty crazy. But other than that, was there something else I'm blanking on? Oh, I think I'm trying to think. I don't know. Like they explored different things that weren't really shown in the game, but were implied in the game, and I think an adaptation like this is kind of cool like that. What am I? What is this mode here? I guess we'll just wing it. Let's try to do better than we did in the original, the last episode. I have a feeling this is going to be infected running at us. It feels like a very wide open space.
Shit.
Oh no, humans. But they're running straight at me.
Angel!
That was lucky. Whew. Yeah, we should be able to get this guy lickety split.
May she guide me.
Here I am. Ooh. Abby takes him out way faster than Ellie does.
Right.
Now what? I could use some more ammo. Headshot kill an enemy. That's just one gambit? It's just do that? Okay. Okay, we got a guy coming up on us right here. Where? Guess I'll headshot the last person. Wherever they are. I will say the last game really the only game I've been playing since the last episode is, like I said, I've been playing South Park Stick of Truth. I've managed to finally beat a second run of the game, so I beat the game for the second time now. And I brought my trophy level up from like 40-something% to 70%.
What?
Which is good.
What the?
Yeah, and I knocked out a lot of like the tougher trophies. Like one of the trophies was like you have to complete the game without ending a battle with a downed enemy. Basically, like your enemy, without a downed buddy. So like, you know, I have like Butters or Cartman on my team or whatever. They can be downed, and you can complete a battle with them downed, as you know, as long as your party survives. But the goal of this was everyone has to be standing at the end of. Oh shit! At the end of each battle has to be standing. So basically, I can if they get downed, I can revive them if I have like a revive potion. And thankfully there was no like hard mode trophy to beat, like South Park Fractured Butthole. But there are like things that were just made the game a little harder. Like I had to beat one of the trophies was like beat the game without selling any items for more money. Yeah, it pretty much required a lot of healing. And you said again, I still need to play these games. I definitely recommend. They're good. Like Stick of Truth. Like I beat it in a good like 15 hours. So it's fairly short, and that's like with me being like trying to look for everything. Like I had like one of the trophies I ended up getting too was like I got like all the collectibles of you had to collect like the Chimpokomon, which is like the parody version of Pokemon in the South Park universe. And I managed to do that without. I didn't look up a guide. I just like, thankfully, was just very thorough, and I still beat the game like in a good 15 hours. I'm fair. I think like one more run, I can probably get the platinum, but we'll have to see. Alright, thankfully I'm not being timed because I should definitely craft. Yeah, you said you know I'm looking up a guide. Like, honestly, like, there's a lot of well-hidden stuff in the game. I think one of the things I still haven't got is, like, collect you basically collect, like, Facebook friends in a way. Like, I forget what the social network is, if it actually is Facebook or not. But I think it's Facebook, where you have to, you have to get, like, a certain amount of friends, or, like, get all the friends. And I still haven't gotten all the friends yet. I think there's a lot of missable trophies, but that's where looking up a guide comes in helpful, like, to know whether you're close to missing a trophy or not. Alright, so we did go with that. Let's craft another one before we're out of here. I guess we'll craft you. Oh, this is what I was gonna say. Because a lot of people were like very a lot of like some people were an S rank, nice. Some people were up in arms about a certain direction that was in the episode 3, and that's but it's kind of interesting if you think about it, is that when the therapist goes to see Ellie when she's still like on her way to leave the infirmary, she asks like, you know, like, well, she like basically like asked Ellie about like her last moments with Joel, like, you know, like basically implying that they left things off kind of like unresolved. And Ellie says like, you know, I never got to speak to him or anything. I saw him on the porch and I kind of just, you know, and that was it. But now that the therapist, and a lot of people are like are very critical of this because they know at the end of the game that we know that Ellie goes to see Joel on the porch, and to kind of have a talk and about how they would like to like how Ellie would like to try to forgive Joel, and you know, like a start to mending the relationship, even if it's impossible, but you know, she'll like to try. But like the therapist says, Ellie's a liar. And it's very likely that Ellie was avoiding her feelings or avoiding sharing this moment that she had with Joel. Maybe she wants that moment to just be something for her, not for others to know about. And plus, she just wanted to get out of there as quickly as she could so that she can go on this revenge quest. It's very likely, I think, that, and I think even I didn't watch any of the behind the scenes like commentary or anything, but it seems like that's what's being implied, or like that's being left ambiguous. That is that Ellie may very well have seen Joel on the porch and is just lying about it.
Where to now?
All right, let's keep it going. What do I want to do? Okay, so Abby heal on melee hits. That's cool. Let's do that. Guess that's it. And that's good. But other than that, that's all I pretty much have to say about The Last of Us episode 3. I enjoyed it very much. Looking forward for the 4th one. What do we got here? I feel like I should put get some trap mines. And I should probably have got that rifle, but whatever. We'll manage. Let's try this. 3rd mine, sure. Why not? But yeah, so that's what I was doing. South Park Stick of Truth. I got, you know, been having. It's good to, like I said, I was saying it last time too. It's good to have a game to play that where, you know, I don't feel the impulse buy of, you know, having to get a new game. There's a game. It's good when you collect physical stuff and there's still stuff in your backlog to play that you haven't completed yet, you know, like, and to go back to and fill the gap while you're waiting for that next game, you know. But you said I've recently beaten Sly 2 and moving on to Sly 3. Nice. Yeah, like I said, I think Sly 2 was the last one where they had like the little clue bottles you can collect. I really enjoyed those as a collectible. I think Sly 3 takes that away, which was kind of I can't tell if it's Sly 2 or Sly 3 that brings it back or not, but I just remember I think it's Sly 3 that gets rid of those as a collectible, and it kind of disappointed me. I think Sly 4 brings it back, from what I've heard. I guess we'll do fire rate. We'll keep it at that. Alright, let's try the next. Now this is the daily run, so everyone who's playing today is playing this. And by the way, as I play this... Ooh, we get Lev if we go in this one. As I'm playing this, I'm really like... It's just such a shame that there's no online version of this. I completely agree with Naughty Dog's decision to not make a live service game, but it's such a shame that we didn't have like just like a component to the main game similar to The Last of Us having its own component of factions without it having to be a live service thing. Because the gameplay here is so much fun. I'm glad that this exists though. Oh, we have locks to do. Melee, kill an enemy is a gambit. Yeah, Factions was in development. Yeah, it was. Oh, it was in development hell? Well, ultimately what it came down to is that Naughty Dog realized they're going to have to support this thing as a live service, and they weren't up to the task. It all has to do with the whole Jim Ryan pushing live service stuff, which kind of, you know, caused a lot of headaches. I wouldn't say it was in development hell. From what I heard, that the game was actually complete and it was playable, and from what people were saying who had played it, that it was actually a really great game. But it just kind of got written off, I guess, for business reasons, I guess. Alright, we're trying to get to the safe. I feel like I should stop letting the enemies just try to corner me and just try to like be a little bit more proactive. Alright, we got enemies in there. Let's try this. Oh, I got the gambit. Cool. I don't feel good about this. Okay, I feel good now. Oh, that's Lev. Oh no, it's not Lev, it's Yara. I'm sorry, Yara. I'm supposed to get to the safe. Damn it. Oh. Alright. I still haven't got to the safe on this game mode. But, whatever.
Damn.
Returning to hideout. At least it like still makes you complete the encounter. You said, yeah, I'm glad this live service game thing has slowed down. I'm hearing good things about Marathon. I feel like I might hop on to Marathon when it becomes available later in the year, as an online game from Bungie. A lot of people who are in the alpha are saying a lot of good things. It's an extraction shooter, so it's new to me, but I'm hearing good things. Like I might check it out. I'll have to see how it pans out though. It's not a game I'm like gun ho about yet, but you know, I wasn't exactly on the like. I remember being on the fence about Helldivers 2 when it first came out, or when it was first being shown. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So at the moment with Marathon, I'm kind of at that same point where it's like, I'm curious. I'm like, I'm feeling better about it than like say Concord. And I just trust Bungie more. You know, it's not like because we have Fair Games coming out too, which is by a new studio, but that looks very Ubisofty. Whereas Bungie, it's like it's an existing IP. Marathon was like a game from like the like '94, I think. It was like one of those old Quake Doom style games from like the like the early '90s. But it's like a reimagined version, and the art style looks like it looks nice. It looks very trippy to me. You said, "Oh, that game." At the same time, it's like I don't blame anyone if they're skeptical because you never know with these games. But I just happen to be enjoying it. I mean, like I have a somewhat of interest with it. I guess we can do stability. I guess we can get into our finish our top 10 list by the end of this episode. I think because we only have two left each for the Desert Island top 10 2010 games. I'll rattle it off as soon as I guess I'll get Recoil done. Let's see what my top 10 so far is. Number 10 is BioShock Infinite. Number 9, Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 8, Horizon Zero Dawn. Number 7, Red Dead Redemption 2. Number 6, South Park Fractured Butthole. Number 5, Killzone 3. Number 4, God of War. And number 3, The Last of Us. And yours, number 10 is Minecraft. Number 9, Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 8, Sonic Generations. Number 7, Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. Number 6, Super Mario Odyssey. Number 5, Marvel Spider-Man. Number 4, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And number 3 is Persona 5 Royal. Good list so far, I'd say. What else do we have? Faster crafting versus after killing an enemy with your strike for a short time, your next melee attack will also be a strike. Kind of like that actually. And then let's craft health kits. Cool. And what else do we have in our little... Where's our little, like, present area that we get to get more stuff? Oh, right here. So, my number 2 is a game that really had I really liked it, but it had to grow on me, and ultimately I realized this is like one of those games of the generation, one of those games of a decade for me, that just stands apart from like so many. That it's like so distinguished and you know, and all that. But let me just see what I have. Shiv recipe, pipe bomb. I guess I can get a pipe bomb. More pipe bomb. Let's try that, yeah. And that game is Death Stranding. This is a game that, when I first played it, I played it really for the story. I wasn't really like the gameplay, like I was behind it. It was experimental, but it wasn't like my there was definitely a learning curve to it. It was a game that taught you not to rush, and that the enemy of the game really is the terrain as much as it is like the other enemies. But and then yeah, Death Stranding came out 2019, so falls in Yeah, 2019. It falls in the in the within the criteria here. But it's a Kojima game. It's my first Kojima game. I didn't play Metal Gear. I mean, I've seen Metal Gear Solid. I've watched it, but I never really played the games. I never owned them or never played them on my own until later. Um, the game is, he's certainly an auteur. He's the very creative story, very out there, very trippy. I still don't quite understand the story, but you feel it. It's very similar to like say like a David Lynch film where it's not much so much like what's being able to follow the plot, but more of like feeling the emotions and feeling the kind of like the dream vibe or like the just like the surrealness. What do we have here? I'm still on this, and by the end of the game, I was tearing up by how emotional the game got for me, by how much it was like touching me on a certain, but you know what I mean, like very it, it struck a chord with me, and it was just so wild. Like the casting is incredible. Norman Reedus, you got Margaret Qualley playing Mama. You have what's his name? We have Guillermo del Toro is in it, and but what's his name? Oh, I mean Troy Baker, is a very important character, and then you also have what's his name though? I'm forgetting. Who's like he was in the Hannibal series. Was it Mads Mikkelsen? I'm trying like it's on the tip of my tongue, but um, great performances, great mocap, very trippy story. Very it's about connecting with other people. It's a game that came out right before COVID, so it almost felt prophetic in a way, similar to other Kojima games. Um, oh, what is this? I should have looked at what it was first. You said now, what does a delivery simulator like Death Stranding do for you? Um, people talk about walking simulators a lot. This is like the definitive walking simulator. You actually have to make sure you're balanced and that you're not going to tip over and that you're, climbing the train correctly. You have to walk correctly. Um, at a certain point, the more like and the gameplay is great and very experimental, but what really got me is like the post game. It took me 5 years to platinum the game, but it was a game that I had no problem uh, doing a complete time sink into because the gameplay starts to evolve beyond just walking around with just packages. Like you start to build roads. You start to like build equipment or little like gadgets and device and like kind of like structures that can like help you or help other people out in the world uh make things more efficient. My favorite thing was building roads because it's also one of those rare games where it's an offline game that's online that you can choose to play offline, completely offline. You don't have to go on, use the online feature. But when you use the online feature, you're not seeing other people in the world, but you're seeing what their impact has on the world. Like they can contribute to your roads. You can contribute to their roads. You'll see little messages that they left behind, little signs of encouragement. It becomes a very communal thing in a game that feels that has a sense of isolation. And that's kind of what COVID was like in a way, where it's like we're all, before COVID, but this is doing this before COVID, but it's like, we were all like hunkered down under like, uh, restricted rules where we had to stay inside, but we learned to kind of like, communicate and bond with each other electronically through Zoom, all that stuff. Games was very important for me. Being able to play video games, especially like online games with friends, was a big thing during COVID. That's what this game feels like. It feels like it's celebrating that in a way that it's like even in like moments where you're closed off from the rest of like society, your impact still matters, and everyone's impact matters, and we should be trying to build. The game is basically trying to rebuild America in a way. I'm interested how this next game is going to play out because it feels like it's going to be taking a lot more subversive themes compared to the first game. Um, asking questions like, should we have connected? Should we be building, like should we be doing the things that we're doing or whatever? Like that's going to be very interesting when it comes out later this June. But overall, this game, it's so like for me the gameplay loop becomes a lot of fun, and it took me like time to realize that it was always fun. But you kind of have to warm up to it because it's such a like a very subversive style of gameplay we're not really used to. Usually we're just used to like running, gunning, being able to shoot enemies or kill enemies. This has that but there was consequences. There's like a terrorist group in this game that's trying to like impede your progress of like delivering packages, and they'll have like little shock rods, and you can get guns that are lethal or non-lethal, and preferably you want to do non-lethal because then you're just subduing them without having to kill them, because the game has consequences when you kill people. You can kill people and get away with things, but if you leave their dead bodies in this world, the what they call the Death Stranding becomes this like powerful force that can be very detrimental to you, where you you might actually have to go back and get that body and dispose of it before the environment becomes like a hellscape. And that was really just like, I don't know what he was smoking, but it's such a cool concept, and it's such a wild concept. But it's like you start to like, I don't know, the game just starts to evolve in such weird, satisfying ways. And overall, I'd say the story is great, and the gameplay is fun, and it's very innovative um, and different. And there's no other game like this at all. Um, when Kojima says, "Oh, this is a game that's it's like inventing a new genre in a way," it sounds very pretentious. But after all is said and done, I have to agree that he did that. Like, there is no other game like this. There is no, I couldn't, I wouldn't know what genre to put a game like this in that is in a category with other games. It's an open world game, but it's like not, it's a totally different concept in terms of everything else. But overall, really love this game. Platinumed it, like a year or so ago, or within a year ago. And now I can't wait for the second game. It's coming out like I can't believe like in a couple of months, basically. But that's my number. Well, I'll read what you said before, but that's what I have to say about that. But I don't know what I'm up against right now. I feel like the infected are gonna be bum rushing me, so let me try to focus on that first before we really get into. Oh God, I should probably put a trap down. Let's do that. Oh, there's definitely stalkers, because they're not going after me. Oh no! Why is the trip bomb so has such a like big like hit detection? I was trying to go around it, but that's the oh God. I feel like with this, it's like I'm picking up little strategies and I'm learning from my deaths, but it's just like there's more deaths that I have to learn from, and this is one of them. But Anyway, you said just before we wrap this up, before we wrap up my thing, you said so. It's not a delivery simulator. It is the delivery simulator. Exactly. It's like it's owning what it is, and it's doing it in such fantastic ways to the point where it's not. It's not a. Um, it has no negative connotation to it. It's something that you want to like. That it's other games should be striving for, trying to be as wild as what this is. So, and you said sounds interesting. He cooked definitely. And now that the first game had so much success, I want to see how they build upon that and make it really more, not just in its story, but like with, fleshing out the world more and just like going to town. Like now he can just like really go crazy, I feel. But yeah, that's my number two. What would you say is your number two? That was the daily run, by the way. So we're number 454. I did better than Kong Hornbop. So take that. You said number two is Little Big Planet 2, which I think that came out 2011, I believe. That's a game I played. I played it co-op with my sister when it came bundled with my PS3. Um, I remember when before I had the PS3, I remember seeing Little Big Planet, like other people had it. That I never like. I remember looking like over the fence on like how the grass is green on the other side where I didn't have my PS3 yet. And I saw people had. I saw Sackboy was becoming this big phenomenon in a way for platformers and stuff. And I remember being like, I want to play this. So I was very glad when I saw that it became bundled with my PS3, the second game, and then I got to really dive deep. It's the one game I really dove deep into. I did some of the creative tool stuff. I did the online a bit, but I played the co-op with my sister, um, which was fun. And I have to say, I did not really get that far with the trophies. I remember it being very it had a very good sense of humor with trophies. Like it was like, oh, play this on your on like I don't know, play the game 3 times in a day, or I don't know, like the trophies were very like uh had a sense of like child wonder to them. It wasn't necessarily in-game trophies. It was like really like obscure, outside the box, like creative trophies that it's like play this game on like Columbus Day or something, or something stupid like that. But it was like it was cute and adorable. Um, what I do? New gambits. A new gambit tier. Get a kill with upgraded melee weapon. Kill the 2 highlighted enemies first. Get 3 kills with explosive arrows. Get 3 kills using a silencer. So you're saying, after seeing how fire Little Big Planet 1 was, I had to get the second game. How much more improved is the second game over the first game? Is there? I'm guessing there's more creative like create a options basically, like uh, I'm guessing they expanded on that compared to the first, or were there things in the first game that you feel weren't included in the second game, but you still enjoyed the second game for what it was? How would you say? He says it improves the game 1,000 times more. That's good. That's what you want in a sequel. New character unlocked. Lev. This character is now available to play when you start a new run. Okay, so this is what we were doing with our Abby characters. Okay. I think now that we got the new run, we tried our new run, I do want to get back to, I think, perhaps, what's Jesse's like? 30% more currency. Unique items at trading post, silencer recipe, pipe bomb recipe, gorilla upgrade branch. Let's try. I guess we can try him. You said this game has backwards compatibility. You can play Little Big Planet 1 community levels on Little Big Planet 2. That's cool. Like I was saying it during our 2000s countdown list that like SOCOM 2
Okay.
was one of the games I chose, and what I liked about that is that they carried over all of the maps from the first game into the second game, bundled with like a completely new wave of maps. And I remember being like so. I think that was so cool that they just like basically just folded the first game into the second game. But it was like not even like there was just still so much more of the second game. But this is kind of interesting, where it's an online interactivity that they're folding into the second game. That I think is cool. Like in terms of like what people have created. Uh, you know, that's something I wish would have been a thing like with like the Tony Hawk games. Like say with like Tony Hawk 3+4 when I had some creative parts that I did with the 1+2 remake. It would be cool to see if they can carry over into 3+4 into that online. Even though that online kind of died. But you said I have like 72% of the trophies unlocked. I'm guessing a lot of those trophies are like online required trophies at this point, and if it's like now that the online's shut down, it might not be available for people now, right? I'm guessing because that really was like an online heavy game as much as there was like an offline mode. Um, Especially in early PS3 era where like I don't think Sony really ever like considered that their games were going to be, the online components of their game were going to go away. They kind of didn't consider that with the trophy making. What am I up against? Hunted. I think I have to survive this. Like, I think it's just like constant enemies coming at me. Oh, they're coming already. You said my favorite feature in this game is that you can make blockbuster action-packed movies. That's sick. Games that support filmmaking, almost like taking like that red versus blue spirit and allowing players to dabble with that in game. That's cool. You said if not for Crash Bandicoot, this is probably my favorite game of all time. Yes, I remember you saying something similar to that effect. Yeah, like I said, my only qualms with it, melee kill and enemy kill.
Walk away.
My only qualms with it is that it did feel a little too floaty for my taste in a platformer. But I think if I gave the game a second chance, it really isn't that bad. The game definitely the game design and the level design seems to lend itself to that floatiness anyway. But coming off of like Crash Bandicoot, where it's like coming off of Crash Bandicoot, that's a little bit more quick pace, has a little bit of gravity to it, and a little bit more of like precision in its jumping. There's just something about the floatiness that just I don't know. It's like a different vibe for me. You said the soundtrack is great. It had a lot of bangers. I feel like I have to re-listen to like the soundtrack. Oh, this is the S. I got an S rank. Nice. I have to listen to the soundtrack again for Little Big Planet because I can't really remember much from it. I feel like I would remember it if I played it, but again, it's like I didn't really dabble that much with it. I think I have like maybe like 11% trophy completion with it. It's not that much, but I think I feel like I played the main story and I tooled around with the online a bit and some of the creative features, but I didn't really like live in the game like others did. Like I'm sure you got to experience. It's mostly licensed music with some original tracks. Ah, that's interesting. That's what I was trying to think of, like scored music that it would have, but that's cool. I wouldn't have thought that they had licensed music. The game was basically my home. It felt like it was what PlayStation Home was at the during the PS3 era, but it was like the game, the place to be more than that was. I think the PlayStation Home was like a little ahead of its time at the time, and it was a little, I don't know, it wasn't really that appealing to me, but I could see Little Big Planet being like, okay, let's see what people have done today. Let's see what people, let's see what I can do today that will just like, completely like mess with people's heads or something, or people will find challenging or fun. Yeah, PlayStation Home, remember that? I remember being in that, and I remember being like, wow, this is the future. And then the PlayStation just never did it again with PS4 or PS5. And yet people, it seems like they're trying to, like, it seems like wasn't there another company that was trying to do something similar to PlayStation Home? Wasn't like Meta going to be the thing where it's like, this is going to be a place you can live in? Like the Meta Quest was going to do something like that. I played like 5 minutes of it, then I left. Yeah, I was in there. Yeah, like I was in my home for a bit, and I was like, I saw people walking around. And I was like, yeah, I'm out. Let's see what we have. I like the idea of trip mines. I just have to be more careful around them. Let's get another trip mine going. Another. But yeah, anything else to add for that? It's a great pick, Little Big Planet 2. It was a nice game to have at launch too, because it was just like, I don't think I would have got it on my own, especially because I was late to the PS3 generation, so I was like, and I had no job, so like any purchase I made had to be essential, like it had to count. So I couldn't. There was a lot of games I missed on the PS3 that I had to go revisit later. But I'm glad that it came bundled with that. That and Ratchet and Clank All for One was also bundled with the PS3, which was cool. Which was another co-op game for the time. Oh, did I get? Oh, yeah, I did. Okay, cool. And you said, yeah, the story levels and the DLC levels are great, and that's my number 2. Yeah, the DLC, I don't think I've ever really... No, I had Little Big Planet 2 Special Edition. That's what came bundled. So maybe those DLC... all that DLC content was, like, bundled in with the game in the Special Edition. That's cool. And also, I picked this over Little Big Planet 3 because Little Big Planet 3 is glitchy. And I heard that Little Big Planet 3 is not made by Media Molecule. It's made by, like, Sumo Digital or something, or some other company. But, yeah, good pick. Trying to think what else. Okay, so yeah, I guess I'll go into my number 1. My number 1. Now, I wonder if your number 1 is the same. I feel like we've been very quiet. I feel like this game is very obvious for me, at least. I wonder if it's as obvious for you, or maybe you have a completely different one than me. What is this? Hold on. A swarm of infected is approaching. Use the supplies in the area to set up your defense. Oh, this is we unlocked this mode last time. We didn't actually get to play it yet. Protect your ally. You will fail the encounter if they are killed. Okay, this is different. I'll go into it after this encounter, because this encounter is like completely new to us, and I don't know what I'm in for. Oh, I have to like board things up. How do I do that? Oh, that's a bad... I don't know. Or am I just... I don't know what's going on.
Over here, come on.
Oh, it's invisible. I remember they said that we have that there's some invisible enemies. as a mod. Okay, let's keep putting. Whew.
Over here. I got one.
Oh my god. Oh, that's a shambler. I got a pipe bomb. Where is he? Let's go. Oh god, oh god, oh god. Invisible infected, are you kidding me? Oh, I gotta definitely... No! Dina died. Okay, so that's something. Okay, it's holdout mode. I'm playing it for the first time, but you're giving me invisible enemies. Gotta... I tried. Kill 4 enemies with trap mines in one counter. Unlocks skin hangout. Kill 10 enemies in a run. Skin casual. For Dina, it looks like. Complete all challenges for Ellie aligned characters. Okay, we're making progress with that. New skin unlocked. Dina okay, we saw this, yeah. So yeah, my number one, if this wants to load. Okay, so yeah, let's get a new run going. Standard run, moderate. Let's continue as Ellie. Because I feel like Ellie's more well-rounded. So okay, my number one, without any hesitation. My number one is the game that blew the door open for me in the PS4 generation. This is the first game that I was like anticipating. I remember seeing the trailer for it at E3. I was like, this is the game that's going to define the PS4 generation for me. I can't wait to play this game. At this point, I only had games like Killzone Shadowfall, The Last of Us Remastered, and MLB 15 The Show. This was my fourth game for the PS4 generation, but it was like the game for me. And it proved to be the game for me. And that is Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. This game, I pretty much binged, like, you know, like I said, I was late to the PS3 generation. I picked up all three Uncharted's, and I played them all. And then they announced Uncharted 4. And I was like, oh my god. You said Uncharted 4 is an absolute banger. Yeah, I was like, this is... For me, it's like everything... For me, it's like one of my favorite Naughty Dog games, without a doubt. And I would hold... You know, when I rank the Uncharted series, it's usually 4 and 2 that are like kind of like the front runners. 4, it just was so big. It was the graphical leap, that it demonstrated was incredible for me. It made me feel like, wow, I'm playing a next gen game. You said it's such an incredible game, and what I like too with the story is that they wrapped it up. They made it an ending for the character of Nathan Drake, which you don't really see that much in franchises where they conclude a character's journey, basically. Could there be more Uncharted in the future? Could they even break the rule of bringing Nathan back at some point? It's possible. I think they're going to try to go for like maybe his daughter or something, or maybe maybe playing as another character. But the fact that it's been almost, that was 2016 this game came out, and we still have not had a mainline Uncharted. I'd love that they committed to this. that this was the last chapter, pretty much in terms of an era. It was like an end of an era for the Uncharted series. But what the game does too is it's doing so much that will like influence how The Last of Us plays, with like how it does its encounters, and a lot of the combat is very in the fluidity of the combat. And what I like about it too is that it's a more versatile version of like The Last of Us, in terms of like Nathan can jump, climb, swing. He's more. The gameplay is more. It's frenetic and fast, and like The Last of Us Part Two here, it's very fast. In terms of what The Last of Us game as a grounded game should be, it's awesome. But I just love how Uncharted. I always like the Uncharted games for its like kind of absurdity. That it's almost like we're playing as a cartoon character, but not, and it's kind of grounded in reality. And I feel like Uncharted 4 does a really good job at that. I love being able to get in the Jeep for the first time. We're driving. We can get in and out at will. Finally, I can play a game that where I'm playing the campaign and can get in and out of a kind of a warthog type. Any game where I can get in and out of a vehicle like that at will. In a big section like the Madagascar section. I love that. I eat that stuff up. It's something I always pined for ever since the Halo series. But it's such a for me, it's such a touching story too, between Nathan. We're introduced to his brother. His brother is kind of egging him on to go on this adventure. He's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place with his his newfound like marriage with Elena. And I like how they explore kind of like his addiction to the thrill of the adventure, and that at a certain point he has to make a decision. It's like, what is this all for? Like at what end? Like to what end? Like, are we doing this? Are we going to be risking our lives? Even though the game has a sense of pulp action-ness to it, where it doesn't feel like things are as consequential, but I like how Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley, they kind of brought a sense of like a consequential nature to these type of games, and just the character dynamics and the relationships and the way they play off each other and the chemistry. It's like gold. It's not just one or two characters. It's like a handful of characters. Even the villains are really fun to like when the characters bounce off each other. The set pieces in this game much more cohesive, say, compared to Uncharted 3. I think Uncharted 2 and 4 have the most wild set pieces, but they're actually also very very cohesive with what's going on in the story. Whereas Uncharted 3 felt more like they were coming up with the set pieces first and then writing a story around those set pieces. Whereas, Uncharted 4 just felt more natural. But you're going on such wild set pieces, like, like when buildings are collapsing, the Jeep going over the cliff, and you're using the winch to pull yourself back up. The whole, like, auction scene was awesome. Like, this is a game that, by the way, I played it, I beat it, I platinumed it, I beat it again, I had to beat it so many times. But then I also watched my sister, my sister, I played it again for my sister to watch the game. And it was one of those first games where I was like, wow, like, a game can actually capture people who, my sister plays games, but she's not, I would say she's a little bit more casual than I am, and she's not as much of a gamer as I am. And the medium of games isn't as a conventional way of her experiencing stories. So for her to be glued to the story as I'm playing the game and not even caring about playing the game, I would hand her the controller if she wanted to, but she was just like completely wrapped up in these characters, and she wasn't really familiar with the series up until 4, which was interesting. I got to have this interesting perspective with that. And then I also, one of my other friends got to play it. I just watched him play the entire game. I have so much fun and so much vicarious thrill from this game, just like getting to share it with others, getting to experience it time and again. You said, don't even get me started on that Crash Bandicoot cameo, which is, by the way, when I showed that to my sister, I completely kept it secret. She was not expecting that, and it was. And by the way, that Crash Bandicoot cameo is coming out before we even know about the Insane trilogy. Like Crash Bandicoot was still dormant. That's how much it meant to us when we saw that, because it also made no sense because, like, well, from our perspective, it's like, how did Naughty Dog pull this off? Because they don't own Crash anymore, so they must have made some deal with Activision in order to get permission. And it's so cool that Activision allowed that. And who knows how much money was involved for them to recreate that the Boulder Dash level. But it was. And honestly, still to this day, that is the closest we have to the the classic Crash game being brought to modern audiences. The Insane trilogy is a remake from the ground up, but the Crash game in Uncharted 4 is like it's not the same as Crash Bandicoot 1 from Naughty Dog, but it's very similar. And I like that it's like a different spin on it too, where it's like there's like a point system where you're trying to beat it under a certain time and you're trying to get as much Wumpa fruit, and there's like almost like a high score at the end. That's cool. That like I like that Naughty Dog didn't just like give us it for nostalgia's sake, but they actually gave us an opportunity to play Crash Bandicoot in a completely different way. You said, I really like Sam and Nathan. Yeah, I think it was a really great brother story. I like the twist and turns that the story goes in with Sam. I think they said in the behind the scenes, like Amy Hennig wrote a lot of this. And originally Sam was going to be kind of an antagonist by the end of the game, and in a way he kind of is. But Neil Druckmann ended up taking over, and Bruce Straley after Amy, like a lot of, I don't know, like from what I've heard, there was a lot of unfairness that went on behind the scenes that had nothing to do with Neil or Bruce, but I think just like Naughty Dog as a whole, just there was just some weird things that were going on with like the creative struggles behind the scenes or whatever. But it was really well done. It was a game that actually went through like development hell in terms of like they had to remap the story, but it turned out great. It's one of those success stories for me. And that trailer that aired during E3, where you're going through the market with a Jeep, and that one truck is after you with a turret, and then you're swinging from the turret with a what's it called, with the grapple, or the rope, and you're like hanging out, and then you're being pulled on your belly in the mud. Like that set piece alone is like nothing could be more cinematic than that moment for me. Like it's so, the whole game is just like a cinematic like masterpiece that you get to play. I love every second of it. I love the story where we're exploring Henry, what is this? Henry, I'm forgetting it already. The pirate Henry something, I forget. But I like the whole concept of it, that there's this like this place called Libertalia where all the pirates just like stored their loot and kind of had this kind of like pact with one another, and then how it all goes south, and they all get, and then just like all these characters just get all mixed up with it. It's such a great game. Let me just say what you're saying. The final boss made me cry. It took me an hour to beat. Oh my god, yes. Especially when you had to platinum the game. I think, didn't we have to like beat it on crushing mode? Because that was like, oh my god, I couldn't. Interesting mechanics too being introduced by the end. With the whole sword fight thing. But wow, what a capper! Awesome epilogue too. We got to see Elena and Nathan's future and where things might go in the future. And yeah, overall, it's peak gaming. Like for me, it's like one of those cool moments in gaming for me where it's like I couldn't believe I was playing this game so early in the journey. To me, this game is the game that kicked off Sony's exclusives for me too. You know, because a year later we're getting Horizon Zero Dawn. A year after that we're getting God of War 2018. Then we're getting Death Stranding, Days Gone. Um, what else? Like, um, pretty much. I mean, like, and then up to till 2020. But like for me, like PS4 took a while to get going for those first few years. People seem to forget that. And then Uncharted 4 was like the first game for me that just blew the door wide open. Uh, and to me, to this day, is worthy of masterpiece praise. Like it's one of the greats, and it still holds up. But yeah, that's what I'll say for my number one. I guess I'll go into a run as you go into your number one. I'm guessing Uncharted 4 just didn't make the cut for you. Um, but I could be wrong, or any of the Uncharted, or no, because Uncharted 3 maybe. But I don't know. We'll see. You said nice epilogue. Oh, by the way, the soundtrack in this game is one of those soundtracks that I will I'll swear by. It's one of those soundtracks I'll like run on the treadmill to. I love the track "Cut to the Chase." I love the track "The 12 Towers," and I love the track "Race to Libertalia." Those are my three favorite tracks on the soundtrack for Uncharted 4. But the entire soundtrack is just like it's just like beast mode. Like it's awesome. It's very moving. It's very swashbuckling. The melody, everything about it, it's epic. And it really like brings out a lot of like cool emotions and stuff. So one of those games that I'll definitely hold dear for a long time going forward. But yeah, that's my number one. You,
We know you're out there.
Damn it.
yeah, you can say it. I feel like I got a good handle on this. Yeah, you're good to say your number one if you'd like. And I'm curious what it is because I don't know. Eli. Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. Wow. Excellent. Another game that kind of like blew the PS4 generation open for me. Like it was towards the end more, but it was like I can't believe that we're getting this, that this game exists. It was the same effect that Uncharted 4 was for me. Oh shit. No way! God damn. This is the best game in history. Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. I remember I actually watched the what was it? Yeah, it was the Game Awards when they announced it, and we had an inkling it was going to be announced because they had like the whole like Activision put out like the Crash dice to a lot of like the media outlets, and basically I remember I was watching the Game Awards, and this is a rare thing too, is my sister was in the room watching with me because I told her that Crash Team Racing may very well be at this thing as a remake, and she already knew of the Insane Trilogy. She played a lot of it with me, but Crash Team Racing is a game that me and her, like, to this day is like it will always be like on our Mount Rushmore of games. If anything, it is our number one game that we share with each other. for the end of time, without a doubt. We'll be playing that game when we're in our 80s. Um, but when they first announced, like when they showed that the Crash mascot guy was there, and he pulls the the first place trophy out of the box, it's like, oh my god. And my sister actually called this, by the way. She said, I bet they're gonna do the countdown, like the red light, red light, green light countdown. And she actually like predicted that right. But it was so epic. And then I remember when they first showed the trailer and they show like the old version, and then he jumps off like the Papu Pyramid level ramp, and it goes and then transitions into like the new graphics. That was like, I remember him being like, whoa, like that was like big. It looked like, I wish more games got the remake treatment that CTR Nitrofield got. I would love to see like, say, like a Simpsons game get, or like a Simpsons hit and run get the same love and attention to detail that it got, or a reimagining. But this game is so insane. You said if you showed this game to a 6-year-old me, he would have been mentally insane. And you said, dude, to this day, I still can't believe this is an actual game. What we got in this game, beyond the remake of Crash Team Racing, they always, like, I always see the old phrase being used, like on Twitter, like, oh, they should stop remaking good movies. They should remake bad movies. Bad movies being movies that just didn't live up to what it should be. But maybe try to take the idea of that movie and just try to do something better with better execution or whatever. That's how I feel of like with the added maps from Crash Nitro Kart that are added into this game. And I remember seeing the initial trailer when they showed the different karts. I remember pointing it out. I was like, that's a Crash Nitro kart. And they're going to allow us to play as that. And then as like the marketing campaign started to ramp up, and they started to release other trailers, and they started to like show that, oh, there's going to be Nitro Kart characters that are going to be added. And then and then eventually we got the levels. We didn't get the adventure mode. Crash Tag Team Racing is one of my childhood games, and to see content from that game in this modern day, I can't believe. That's, again, for me, it was just a love letter to everyone who had their hand in carrying the Crash kart franchise forward, regardless if the games were good or they were never going to live up to Crash Team Racing, the original from Naughty Dog. But there's a lot to say about what they did bring to the table, and I love that finally, because before Crash Team Nitro Field released, I finally went back to Crash Nitro Kart, which I own on PS2, and I was like, I never actually beat this game. I never beat the adventure mode. I never really I played like the maps, the multiplayer sense, but I didn't really like give it because I always just wrote it off as just like this isn't the same as Crash Team Racing. Why should I even bother? But when I knew that they were going to be remaking these and it's going to have this uniform physics engine and graphics and everything, I was like, let's give this a shot. And then I played it, and I was like, Crash Nitro Kart, it's not bad. It's actually good. It's not Crash Team Racing the original at all by any stretch, but that game is such a monumental feat. Like nothing really will ever live up to it, in my opinion. But as a kart racer, it was good, and like you got used to the physics and the engine and everything. And I ended up beating it before Nitro Fuel came out, and now I'm just glad that I can share in those levels and play like the classic cups from the original, or mix it up and throw in a Nitro Kart level if I want to. I love that the roster is so huge too, that they were adding with every Grand Prix. And by the way, I was in every Grand Prix, and I collected every single collectible there was. The only collectible I didn't get was like the one you had to like get like a certain internet provider. You had to sign up with a certain internet provider. I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. That's silly. But I did get like the what was it, like the Sour Patch Kids or the gum. What was the gum? I forget what the gum was, but I remember getting that at Walgreens just to get like the gummy cart. And I did like donate the one. Uh, there's one where it's like you donate to veterans if you get, and you'll get this like special like World War II esque cart, like a biplane or whatever. So I figure I'll do that. But every Grand Prix, like literally in 2019, I was in the trenches with every Grand Prix. I managed to get squeeze every last bit of content out of it that exists. There's not one legit piece of content that was offered in those Grand Prix that I don't own or that I didn't achieve, which I'm very thankful for. That I kind of because I knew this is too much of a special game that it not just to me but to my like to my childhood and to my sister too, and that she's going to be playing the game with me for, and she still plays the game with me. Um, that I needed to really go all out and get everything. You said this game is everything I want in a Crash game. So much content on top of new tracks as well. It's actually crazy. I was in every Grand Prix except for the Nina's Nightmare one. Okay. Yeah, I think yeah, every single Grand Prix I was in, I even in the online mode, I managed to come across Canadian Guy A, and I beat him in some tracks. I remember he was streaming one day, and then I saw that I was in. No, I remember I saw him in the lobby, that he was in my same lobby, or like our in the race with me. So I was like, is he doing a stream right now? So I actually checked, and he was doing a stream, and I just remember like it was kind of like a point of like silly pride that I was like, I'm glad that I beat Canadian Guy A in a live stream as he was live streaming. Um, you said so much. If I had money back then, I probably would have bought that Xfinity card on eBay. Yeah, I mean, do they still? If there was a way to get it, maybe I would at this point. Because now that I know the Grand Prix aren't this endless slop of new content, like like it's just not just going to be this just like drawn out thing. It lasted for what, a good year, right? The whole Grand Prix. So that was a fair amount of time for all that. But now that everything's all said and done, yeah, maybe I would, maybe. But at the same time, not necessary. It was almost like I was at a principle I didn't want to get it because I was like, if I see anybody with that card online, I just know that you really have no. It's like you really had no discipline. You have no integrity. If you really had to change your internet provider, like that to me, it's like it's crossing a sense of like being the number one fan to like, okay, you're a little desperate, but I don't know. That's just me. But at the same time, like you said, I'm of two minds. Where it's like, if it was available to buy, just to buy it, sure, why not? Um, you said, but my journey is not over yet because I need to beat the dev times. That's something I never did. I'm surprised with platinuming the game. Because in the original games, I never really beat Oxide's times back in the day. And I know they also added Emperor Velo's times as well. But I remember having to beat Oxide's times in Nitro Fueled. I managed to do it, and then it gave me the courage to do it on the original PS1 version, which I ended up doing as well. Um, I don't think I didn't do the Velo times. I'm guessing you did, because that's pretty impressive. But the dev times, nah. And thank God that this game didn't feel the need to make. I don't know. I mean, I guess the platinum relics were required. No, you had to just get gold relics. I think for the platinum trophy. I think. But I'm just glad that they didn't make people have to go too crazy to get that platinum trophy. Make it challenging. I think it's like at 0.2% player base has the trophy, the platinum trophy, and which is what me and you have. Um, which is a lot. You know, it's in my top five rarest platinum trophies, which I'm proud to have achieved. But yeah, you said I haven't, but the Veltimes aren't bad. Okay, yeah, so like maybe the Veltimes are just like a little bit, you know, maybe they're doable. Maybe I can do them. And you also get something too after getting beating the Veltimes and the Dev Times. I think there's still a cart or some kind type of content that you can still like unlock, which is I kind of like the idea that there's still stuff to do, but I have no intention to do. But for people who do, that's cool. But yeah, Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel, great pick. The rainbow wheels. Okay, there's so many great wheels though that at that point I'm just like, it's not going to add that much. But I mean, it's something. But he said I will do that one day, and that's your number one. Great pick. For my like on my top 10, I kind of avoided the remakes, similar to how with my Game of the Years I usually avoid remakes. But you have, it's kind of more. It makes more sense in these lists to include them because for me, when I do Game of the Year, I'm thinking about what was innovative. And as much as I love a remake of like Spyro remake or you know, the Crash remakes or the Nitro Fueled or Tony Hawk, those are just remakes. As great as they are, they're just remakes. They're not something that like defined the year for me in terms of like being this new big thing or, you know, original thing. But with a Desert Island list, it's different because these games are definitely not the original games. But they are definitely their own animals and they have their own merit and everything. So I'm almost envious that on your desert island you have these games to play, while I kind of went for more. You know, I stuck to my one IP per franchise rule. And again, look in retrospect, I probably would want Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, but I kind of was of the mind it's like if I included Crash Team Racing or any of those games on my original list for like the 90s or the 2000s or whatever, then at least I have those to play. But definitely worthy. Worthy number one. It's definitely one of the defining moments for me for the PS4 generation in terms of just games I freaking love. Like, you know, you said I would avoid remakes, but CTR Nitro Fueled is too much of a thing. It's too much, and it's more of a remake than that. It's like so much more of that. There's so many modes too, like you know, like you have like the ring mode where you have to go through the rings and kind of maintain the speed, like your what's it called, the blue flame, your sacred fire, or your super sacred fire or whatever it is. You have to maintain that as you're going through the rings, and it keeps it going, and the rings are getting smaller, so the targets are becoming a lot harder to hit. That's a cool mode that was added. I love that they. By the way, I love that they included battle mode. Because with Activision, I could easily see them being like, "Oh yeah, we're not going to do the battle mode because no one's really going to play it." I'm glad that they put the battle mode in. You know, with because now we're getting into like the Tony Hawk remakes, the 3+4, and there's so much content from the original PS2 games that are unreal. You would never like nowadays they don't add as many features as they will for a remake. There's so many features in the original PS2 games that are just simply not going to be there. Whereas with Crash Team Racing, they added everything. They added everything and more. Granted, it was only one mode, but it's a very it's a more obscure mode, but it's a mode that was very popular back in the day when people had their multi-tap connected to their PS1 or PS2. Whereas today, a lot of the split screen multiplayer stuff isn't as big today. So I'm glad that it was supported here, as big as well as it was. Ultimate Sacred Fire. You're right. That's the term. It's been so long since I actually played Nitro Field in a very intense way that I kind of just lost track of the terms. But and you said, and just looking at the roster, it's beautiful. So many characters in Crash history. Yeah, exactly. I love when like Crunch was announced, but I remember like one of the last holdout characters that I wanted in. As much as I loved all the the Nitro Kart characters and like the tag team racing and the games, the characters from like Twinsanity and all that, I wanted them to add the lab assistant, and I'm glad that was like one of the last characters that they added finally. Um, so that was cool. And then they threw in really wild ones too, like the iron checkpoint crate. That was funny. But yeah, there's a lot to choose from. They pretty much it pretty much is an everyone is here moment. I think there's some that didn't make the cut, but for the most part, you're getting such a great package with this game. Anyone who's like catching this game on sale, who's a kart racer fan, you're in for a treat, without a doubt. Like you're gonna get so much bang for your buck. Um, but yeah, that's your number one. Great pick. Next time we'll get into top 20s, the 2020s, because I think I have enough at this point. Even though we're only halfway through the 2020s, I think we have enough. I certainly have enough that I can list in a top 10. That would be more worthy. I think for me the 2010s were a little bit more samey to me in terms of just like oh, here's another third person over the shoulder character action game, or they were all different in genre and stuff, but like there's a lot that kind of blend together, whereas there was some diversity. I had like a first person shooter like BioShock Infinite and Killzone 3, and then South Park Fractured by Hole and stuff like that. But I think the 2020s is going to be a little bit more diverse that I'll be able to offer this time around. In terms of IP, obviously, and just mixing it up with the games. Yeah, 2020's games so far. You say, yeah, you have enough games too. So yeah, we'll make it through our list slowly but surely as we go. Anyway, I've been rambling on. We discussed episode 3. We got into the I still want to just get to the boss in this return mode. If we don't, we don't. No big deal. Or at least beat a boss, but it is what it is. It's a nice. This is like a nice format to just kind of just talk and play. Doesn't necessarily have to have any progression. But anyway, yeah, and I'm glad that we got to finish our 2010s list. To recap, I guess I'll do my recap since I'm just going to be droning on and on. Number 10 for me, BioShock Infinite. Number 9, Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 8, Horizon Zero Dawn. Number 7, Red Dead Redemption 2. Number 6, South Park Fractured Butthole. Number 5, Killzone 3. Number 4, God of War 2018. Number 3, The Last of Us. Number 2, Death Stranding. And number 1, Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. And your number 10, Minecraft. Number 9, Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 8, Sonic Generations. Number 7, Crash Bandicoot and Sane Trilogy. Number 6, Super Mario Odyssey. Number 5, Marvel's Spider-Man. Number 4, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Number 3, Persona 5 Royal. Number 2, Little Big Planet 2. And number 1, Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. Great list. Honestly, like if I ended up with your list on the desert island by accident, I'd be like, hey, this is just as great. Okay, I guess we'll end it there. Pulpit Pig, it's been a pleasure. Anyone out there who wants to like, comment, or subscribe, it's greatly appreciated. You could subscribe to Kev Plays 9490 on YouTube, and follow me on Twitter at Let's Watch Series. Other than that, stay safe, stay healthy, and keep a clear head, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye-bye.